Today is a day for, well, I guess we'll put it like this, rotate this way. Today is a day for some thoughts, some deep thoughts about all kinds of things happening. And one of those specific things is the idea and the topic of how to come up with ideas, how to discover ideas for marketing. So, if that sounds exciting to you, well, you must be a marketer, or you must be looking for something to market, or you must be looking for a way to market something. Or maybe you just stumbled across this and you're curious. But if you are a marketer, this is an important topic because in order to market things, you have to have, first of all, a thing to market. And how do you come up with a thing to market? Where do you get your ideas from? Generally speaking, you get ideas from knowing what's going on in the world around you and knowing how to exploit the inefficiencies in the market of demand and supply, of what is available and what people want, and knowing how to research that. If you can't come up with good ideas on your own, and that's not to say that you're not creative or imaginative, but sometimes people just hit a marketer's block, much like a writer's block, in terms of coming up with ideas for what to market and how to market it. So if you come up with ideas on your own, wonderful. You should anyway research to see if those ideas have a potential market value, or if they're just pie in the sky, or they're just too niche to have any potential impact, to have any potential possibility of growing to be a sustainable model. That doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means that your expectations should be managed and realistic, so that if you are picking something very niche, you don't expect that it will have an enormous impact globally. If, on the other hand, you're trying to think of something that can have a very significant or enormous impact globally, and that means something that could reach, billions of people potentially, and have at least 1 billion customers or users or clients, then you need to do something that is scalable and has a potential reach of billions. And those are usually very big ideas. And those very big ideas are usually apparently simple to the customer or client or user. But on the back end, of course, there's usually a lot more complexity involved. Take, for example, an idea like YouTube or Facebook or Twitter. Well, I can forget Twitter because it doesn't have 1 billion users, but YouTube, Google, Facebook, those kind of products that have a significant impact in terms of reach, in terms of business model, in terms of scalability, in terms of potential profitability, or in those cases, profitability. And while it was all the rage 10 and 20 years ago, and maybe even in some cases up to 5 years ago, to develop software businesses or other kinds of businesses, but primarily software, where there was essentially no profitability in the model, right? Your burn rate was considered a growth metric. Now, more and more in 2023, your profitability matters a lot. Companies have become a lot more efficient and a lot more profitable because these giant behemoths have been around for a while now, and they've become quite good at optimizing their business model and their revenue lines, not just in advertising, although that remains a primary mover for companies whose sizes are enormous, like Google, and their sub-companies like YouTube and Facebook or Meta, and its sub-companies like Instagram. And it's very important to be able to find your pathway to profitability in a reasonable time that investors will not be wary of putting money into, because as cool as you may think it might be to develop, I don't know, an electric flying toaster, if there's no market for that, if nobody's going to buy one, if you have just a billion users who want to see an electric flying toaster website, but they're not actually going to spend any money on your website, and they're not going to click on any ads on your website, then you don't have a model where you could potentially reach billions of people and end up having well over 1 billion users. Right? Why do sites like Facebook and YouTube have such reach? Well, it's because they figured out the model for the niches that they're in. Google figured out search for all things on the internet, and they broke it down into search for images, search for web pages, search for news, of course search for video, for which they purchased YouTube and eventually replaced Google Video. It used to be a thing, by the way, if you're not familiar with it, to have a competing site to their own video site, Google Video. But that has gone the way of the dodo, and YouTube is their primary and sole video behemoth. You can still watch, by the way, videos in like your Google Drive and stuff, but those are not considered part of their video empire, in the sense that they're just files that reside in your personal directories or in those you have access to, and those are not considered part of the video business model. Those are considered part of the Google Drive business model. So searches for videos in Google Drive, impressions, clicks, all that stuff are not really things that matter to Google as a business in the video business through YouTube. And what matters to them in the video business is YouTube and all of the analytics there, which help drive advertising, clicks on ads, beyond just the impressions. They want the clicks, and of course they want purchases made through the clicks on the ads, because that is what convinces the advertisers that advertising on YouTube is a worthwhile investment. The same thing goes with Facebook. They have their own videos, in fact, but they also have all kinds of other content, because it's Facebook, and still a very popular platform, believe it or not. Right? I know kids joke about it or whatever, but the data shows that Meta is still the biggest social media platform. Arguable, given that YouTube is a social media platform, since you can share, like, comment, subscribe, all that sort of stuff on YouTube, just like you can follow and like and comment and subscribe and share on Facebook, and Facebook groups, Facebook pages, Facebook profiles, etc. Of course, Facebook profiles have a limited follower count. I think it's around 5,000 or something like that to the individual person. Right? But if you have a page, that's unlimited, etc. Whereas in YouTube, you can have unlimited followers on any channel. LinkedIn also has a 5,000 limit, I think. Or no, LinkedIn doesn't have a 5,000 limit, but they have some other limits. Anyway, the point is, each of these social platforms has their own metrics and their own limitations on certain things you can do or can't do in terms of metrics and different types of pages and profiles and groups, etc. And the reason that they chose these is because each of these metrics fits their particular business on, and that is something you need to focus on when you are researching the kind of things that might be worth marketing. Right? It's not enough to just have an idea. You know, I want to make a electric flying toaster website, and I want people to come to the electric flying toaster website to sign up and use the site because it's going to have all these cool radical features. You know, push a button to vibrate a virtual electric flying toaster, or follow people posting content about electric flying toasters. All these things which already exist as KPIs and other kinds of metrics on social media sites, right? So you would need to do some research to find out what exactly people are looking for and are not being sufficiently served yet. Meaning, where is there a greater demand than there is a supply? So how do you do that? Well, you can use research tools. Number one thing to do, because it's the easiest to do, and it usually gives you tremendous amounts of data, and therefore pretty good numbers in terms of analytics, and what you can measure and see could potentially work for your business model. And that's very useful because if you have good numbers and metrics to support your business model, then you can see, you know, exactly what kind of estimates you can make before you even start in terms of potential growth rates, potential reach, potential revenue per month, per year, etc. All these things are incredibly important, especially when you're coming up with a new business model or a new product that hasn't really been marketed or marketed well before, right? You know, maybe you figured out that people want, you know, purple colored shoelaces or something. But purple colored shoelaces, for whatever reason, even though they exist, don't have a particular amazing worldwide brand associated with them. But then you found out something interesting about people who want purple colored shoelaces, and you discovered that, who knows, maybe 1 in 23 people actually would like some if they could get them at a decent price in a convenient way on a regular basis, etc. So you go about digging more and finding out the average price of purple colored shoelaces versus white shoelaces or any other kind of shoelaces, and you figured out that there's enough supply available in terms of beginning this particular business model, and that it is scalable once there will be a demand. So you have to open up your Google Sheets or Excel or whatever you use as a spreadsheet and start putting in some data and making some formula to figure out all kinds of information about the purple colored shoelaces versus the white shoelaces as a benchmark. And you know, you can do the whole rainbow if you want, and special ones with patterns or shapes or whatever you want, so that you have enough information to make very visual representations, whether it just be with the numbers or you use charts or both, so that you can see exactly what your potential model can do. And that means you can forecast, you can predict, you can come up with information about your model before you even start. And that is something incredibly useful for any marketer, because it means you don't have to waste your time starting a whole line of business or even creating a line of support for an existing business, by inventing a new product to market, or by trying to market something that already exists but in a better way. Right? You can find out whether or not the model is sustainable before you even start. How can you find out this information? Well, like I said, there are plenty of research tools available. First of all, there are reports, and there's big data available, and there are big data tools available. Just search for big data tools. You'll find a whole bunch of them. Search for some AI tools like Bard or OpenAI or Bing or whatever else you want to use to find data. Of course, keep in mind, if you're using artificial intelligence bots like chatbots, etc., they will knowingly lie to you. So you have to check them from a few different ways to make sure you're getting consistent data. And it's even good to cross-reference on different chatbots to make sure that they're not giving you misinformation, because it is entirely probable that at some point during your research journey you will find that your bots are in fact lying to you on purpose. Even if that wasn't the intention of the people who coded them, it has been discovered that chatbots are misleading, and part of the reason may be that they learn from people who are misleading, and there are people trying to mislead the chatbots to give them false information, and it's quite easy to do. And there are just also suppositions that suggest that as AI learns human behavior better and better and understands how people use and misuse information, that they intentionally provide misinformation in order to appear more believable to other humans, which is maybe fascinating to some, but I would argue expected, given what we know about human nature and what we know about how humans can compute things and program things. So there's nothing surprising about the fact that bots are lying to people. And that's why you need to cross-reference any chatbot data you get. And of course, do some actual research. Go into Google Scholar. Try going to a library, if you remember what those things are. Read some books about statistics, about particular areas that you think are interesting, and maybe market. Come up with an idea list. Make something like a top 10 list of ideas. It doesn't have to be top 10, but that's an easy round number. You can even ask a chatbot, right, what are some ideas that I might want to market? And they'll give you different answers. You can ask them over and over again and get different answers as well from the same bot, as well as from different bots. And this will let you come up with quick ideas. If you search for what are 10 things that have a decent amount of demand and a fairly low supply, right? It's just like when you're doing SEO research and you're looking for what keywords to rank for. You typically want to look for words or keywords or phrases or topics that have a fairly high amount of searches and do not have a very high amount of available high quality content to answer their questions. And there are a number of SEO tools, of course, that you can use for that. I'm not going to list all of them, but if you're an SEO or a marketer, you probably know the tools. There's obviously Google tools, all kinds of different Google tools. Google itself is useful for SEO. You can look for suggested keywords and key phrases, and at the bottom of the page it'll show you like the next 10 best things that people are actually searching for. You can use tools like SEMrush or Moz or whatever. There's no shortage of commercially available and also free SEO tools for finding out information about potential words and keywords and topics to research and to create if you want to rank well. So once you've collected your data, once you've done the research, you've figured out the topics, once you've delved more into that and found more data and more statistics to back up your potential business models, then you start filtering out the ones that are most likely to be profitable for you and filtering out the ones that are not. Right? So you want to cut it down to 1, 2, or 3 topics, 1, 2, or 3 ideas that are going to be most likely to be profitable in the short term and the mid-term and the long term, and look at the growth potential for all of those different time frames so that you don't waste your time on something that's going to be flash in the pan overnight success and then it's gone. If that's the case, you can do that, but don't intend to do something like that long term. And that you don't just build something up that's going to die out in 6 months, because then you've invested a lot of time and effort to make a profit over 6 months, and then it's over, which again, may be worthwhile if you figured out something that can make you a vast fortune in a 6-month period, but then you need to be prepared to get out of it and move to the next thing as soon as that is ending or over. And long term, you can plan for long-term things for the long term, which means it might take you a while to build up, maybe a few months, maybe a year or two, but if you have the runway for it, and by that I mean the financial runway as well as the time runway, then you may very well be able to build a long-term model. And of course, you need to understand the costs of doing this, so you need to calculate by looking at different metrics again, things like advertising rates. So you look at Google AdWords, Google AdSense, Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads, etc. And by Google, I include YouTube and everything else. By Facebook, I include Instagram and everything else. And you want to come up with metrics for the costs of production, cost of distribution, the cost of customer service, etc. Once you know all your costs and your potential metrics for your runway, then you can know whether or not it's worth investing the time and resources, and even if you need to, raising funds from investors, whether that's crowdfunding or going to accredited investors. And all that is an easy way to turn ideas into actual things you start to market. All right, that's it for now. Talk to you later. Bye.